So, there was a time when Mel Gibson was pretty freaking cool. Well, I mean, at least he was in the movies and in my pre-adult mind. There was a time where he was Mad Max, personally my favorite Mad Max. Sorry, Tom Hardy. A time where he had that sick fight on his partner Montauk's lawn with Gary Busey. He was William Wallace in Braveheart and directed that film. He even played Hamlet. I don't know if he did it well, but he did it. Then he went and did some things and said some things, and some say that he lost his mind. Who knows? And then this movie. Flight Risk stars Michelle Dockery as Madeline, an air marshal who's trying to safely transport her fugitive witness, Winston, played by Topher Grace, out of Alaska with the help of Daryl, a charter pilot who isn't quite who he says he is, and is there to actually kill Winston. Madeline and Winston figure out what his real motives are and finds a way to restrain him for the meantime, and they have to find a way to pilot the plane to Anchorage with the help of another pilot on the other end of a sat phone, Hassan. And that is the plot. I didn't have a lot of hopes for this movie, but I love Mark Wahlberg. Say what you will about him, I think he's great. He's an extremely hard worker. And with the right filmmaker, he does a really, really great job. And personally, I think he shines in comedy roles. He's pretty funny by himself, and when he's paired up with another funny guy, amazing. So I thought he could carry this movie maybe. Nope. But honestly, it's not his fault. The writing is so bad, and I mean, some dialogue doesn't even make any sense at all. And a lot of cliches in the writing. He starts with pretending to have this thick Texas accent, which doesn't make sense at all. I mean, why pretend to have an accent? The marshal and the witness don't even know the pilot. They've never talked to him, never seen him. I think it was for dramatic effect, maybe, like, whoa, he's not really from Texas, he's here to kill us. And by the way, Texans, we don't really talk like that, for the most part, anyway. And he's bald in this movie for some reason. Again, when you find out he's the bad guy, you also find out that he's bald. Like it's some big reveal. Or maybe it was for comedic effect. But why be bald? What does it matter? I don't even know if the actual pilot was bald. There's no point in this whatsoever. And in one scene, you can see the hairline and the 5 o'clock shadow on his head that they didn't cover up very well with makeup. Mark Wahlberg actually shaved his head for this role. And that's another issue I had with this film, the comedy. The comedy was so freaking bad that I couldn't tell if they were trying to be funny or not. Topher Grace as Winston just talks and makes stupid jokes one after the other, like stupid stuff like, I'd rather be on Spirit Airlines. Every time Topher Grace talked, I hated it. And I actually like Topher Grace. But back to Wahlberg, he, yes, is a threat in this movie, but for most of the film, he's actually tied up in the back. He really doesn't do a lot in this film. And he's why I came to the theater in the first place. But that was, marketing strategy. There is a lot of lazy filmmaking here. The movie starts at this place called the Igloo Hotel in Alaska, and Topher Grace is hiding from the cops and looking out windows. He looks out the window and there is a huge, ridiculous CGI moose that freaks him out. And it's so incredibly bad. This moose is one of the worst examples of CGI I've seen since Spy Kids. The movie was made in 3 weeks, so that should tell you something. Most of the film takes place in the plane, and they shot everything in a studio with the plane body on this gimbal in front of a very large screen showing flight simulations in Alaska. It actually looks like a Universal Studios ride. And it's kind of funny watching Gibson sitting in his director's chair directing the film while sitting down. There's also this DP on his phone over here, I think. It's a huge contrast compared to what you would see on a Christopher Nolan set where phones are absolutely not allowed, let alone chairs for that matter. That's a little unfair, though, because this is not a Nolan-type movie. This is a throwaway popcorn film that you probably won't remember on your way out to your car in the parking lot. This movie goes by pretty fast, at least. I think it's only 90 minutes, so that's something positive to say about it, I guess. There is just so much bad in this film, though. So many bad lines, so many dumb gags. Like when the marshal tases Wahlberg for what seems like a minute long, his body starts to actually smoke like a cartoon character. And the laws of physics don't really apply to this movie either. Like when the plane takes a steep nosedive, but everyone in the plane doesn't really seem affected by gravity. Or when Wahlberg escapes his handcuffs and was moaning and screaming, but no one notices. Or when the plane goes through a massively thick snow embankment on the side of the mountain, really, really hard and fast, and doesn't take any damage. This movie actually reminds me of when I wrote a sequel to The Terminator when I was like 9 in my E.T. spiral notebook. Same type of insane writing. You'd think this movie would have some at least beautiful cinematography of the plane going through Alaska. But nope, nothing creative, just a plane flying over mountains. A shot pretty much anyone with an iPhone as a tourist in Alaska would take. The shots inside the plane were really boring and typical, nothing that takes any chances in any creative way possible. Like the DP just didn't care about the movie in any way, shape, or form. Lots of static shots and a camera that's basically attached to the roof of the plane. There is so much stupidity in this movie that it's really hard to find the good in it. There is some intensity during the final scene, but it's ruined by some of the laziest writing. How this thing all wraps up is almost insulting to the viewer. The last scene before the credits is this really awkward static shot of firemen and paramedics awkwardly looking into the back of an ambulance. And I mean like really bad, awkward, strange acting. And then the movie just cuts off just like that. Flight Risk is officially the worst movie that I've seen in 2025. I think I enjoyed Kraven the Hunter more than this. And I hated that movie with a passion. I would say that it's so bad, it's good, but it's just so bad that it's just really, really bad. If you're looking for a movie to see this weekend, I would not recommend this one. I'm giving Flight Risk a 0.5 star out of 5 just because it was over in 90 minutes, which I appreciated, and for a slight intense scene at the end, I guess. If you've seen Flight Risk, let's talk about it in the comments. I want to know your thoughts about this movie. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. It really means so much that out of all the channels, you would choose to watch this one. And as always, don't wait till it streams. Let's go to the theater and let's see it together.